Good evening, San Bernardino. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight for our agenda review. So let's make sure that everybody is on and can see what's going on. Okay, so we have a lot of information to cover. This is going to be a pretty big agenda. There has also been some new information that has come up, and there's a lot. And if you guys watched my live earlier, then you will see that what we were discussing has actually moved forward. And there's a lot of just really chaotic, unstable, unethical behavior happening. And now it's, right on the forefront. So let me go ahead and we will pull up the agenda. So the first agenda that we're going to look at, so now there is a special meeting that, even though it was previously agendized yesterday for 1 o'clock, there's been a new addition put on for tomorrow to move the meeting to 1:40. I know, follow with me. And there has been a closed session item added. So I'll give you a minute to be all there. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for joining. So here we go. We have 1:40 p.m., a closed session, open session to follow closed session. And what is on for closed session? Well, it is closed session public employee appointment pursuant to Government Code, Section 54957, title Acting City Manager. So we know that we currently have an acting city manager. That is Rochelle Clayton, who has already been appointed to this position. So honestly, this makes no sense what they are truly pursuing with this closed session item. And I think what we have seen, or we were calling out today, is this true issue inside of City Hall that has fueled this new dialogue. And I want to take a couple minutes to kind of catch everybody up on this, because the sensationalism within the paper that is publishing this now created feud between the acting city manager and the city attorney's office is quite a spin on what is actually happening. And I find, especially in the week that Teddy Sanchez was caught lying multiple times. I mean, lied about the Ontario Police Department dropping off the homeless here. He was caught on that. He's lied about being threatened to appoint Rochelle Clayton as the city manager. Sandra Barr has been lying, and just being caught on lying about this, about the progression of us turning away $17 million for the HomeQ grant. Like the catches has on his part are unreal. And I see this trend going towards what's happening. And that is that the city attorney is now under review. And what council is looking for, and mayor, is accountability for what is happening. And in the crosshairs, unfortunately, has become this acting city manager, Rochelle Clayton, who has been calling out corruption, mismanagement, misfinancing inside. And what it really truly appears to be is that the city attorney doesn't want this stuff to be brought forward and called out. And so now Rochelle Clayton has become in the crosshairs. And I thought this was interesting because she was originally, this is where it becomes very laughable to watch this, poor Teddy and Sandra try to play off that they've been threatened in some way. When the council had previously unanimously moved forward to appoint Rochelle Clayton as the permanent city manager, And I showed up at that meeting because it was on the agenda and I gave this public comment. It says, hey, look, in light of everything that's going on and what I see her doing, I'm in support of this. Only to walk out of the meeting and be approached by other residents who said, oh, they're not moving forward with her. Teddy already told us that he's pulling it. He's got other things that he wants to do. I'm like, how in the world is one council member pulling this? And then all of a sudden these emails come out where he's trying to make it sound like the city manager gave away $17 million, only to then have the truth revealed that while the city attorney was watching and was a part of every step, we were fraudulent in the awarding of an RFP to the point where by the time Rochelle Clayton came to understand what was happening with this home key grant, that it would have been disastrous and illegal for what we were trying to do. And if you guys are, you'll see tonight with the agenda, we haven't moved any of these ARPA funds in the 2 years that we've received them. We are trying to award upwards of $40 million before the end of the year because there's been failed action over the course of 2. And so here we have this appointment, but we already have an appointed city manager. There's nothing noted about termination, so they can't discuss anything about that or reassignment. And what I think is even sadder, hi Cindy, is that there is literally their step-by-step move on how they were planning to create a hostile environment to force Rochelle Clayton out, and the city attorney, who you think, right, would be trying to govern us away from these potential lawsuits. But of course, the more that we screw up, the more money that they're able to draw. So it's really this is extremely unfortunate. It's produced onto the closed session as an appointee position. So what I see is I see 4 council members in collusion with each other and the city attorney to take our whole city. And really the conversation is not that Teddy is being persuaded one way or another. It's that he has full control over 3 other council members that are colluding with each other and are running the city. And so I think we need to be extremely aware, and that's going to be, my job is to make this as transparent as possible. Because watching a city manager be ethical for once, watching a city manager say, hey, no, we're not going to do that, really hasn't been seen in a lot of years. And so this is why they've changed the meeting now later 40 minutes for this public employee appointment acting city manager. So super fun and exciting. And just making sure that everything is on the record, because I know that we're not the only ones watching. And I think that's really important. I guys want you to always remember that other people are watching our meeting. They are watching our city attorney. They are watching our council members and watching the actions that are being publicly recorded. So, okay, with that, then we are going into a discussion on the navigation center. So they want to award the design services and purchase agreement with Mandeville Modular for site design, modular design, and the purchase of modular units, and award professional service agreement with Creed Construction Advisory for development and management services. It's a lot. So the agreement for the modular purchase is $10,093,027, which includes a 15% contingency. And that's for, I'm sorry, the approved agreement for the design services and purchase of delivery of goods. They're going to authorize the director of finance to issue the purchase order for that amount, and then approve a professional service agreement with Creed Construction in the amount of $1,091,000 for the development of the management services and the navigation center, and then authorize the director of finance to issue the PO. So this is roughly, a $12 million move for a modular design. In addition, provide the staff a direction on how to reallocate $5.6 million in surplus ARPA funds. And remember, these are the funds that we received coming out of COVID to help offset the economic decline, and that were earmarked for addressing homelessness. And so the reallocation of ARPA funding to the service contract for a new homeless outreach provider. So receive an update on the city's need to expand homeless outreach services and provide input to staff on the reallocation of remaining ARPA funds from the current contract to support continued homeless services. So let's look at that real quick. That's on page 462. Okay. And let's see what this has to say. So on November 25th, 2025, Hope the Mission submitted formal notice of their intent to terminate their professional service agreement with the City of San Bernardino, with their final day of service being December 22nd, 2024. So that should be November 25th of 2024. That's this month. Now, if you remember, Hope the Mission is the organization of which the city was originally trying to create this home key application with for this grant that Cassandra Searcy has said was an absolute just non-performing partner with us. So I'm pretty sure probably in the disclosures of all those emails, they came to this agreement that starting December 22nd, they are not going to be moving forward. So in order to prevent disruptions or gaps in the vital homeless outreach services, it is requested that council approves a homeless outreach contract with the next top-rated proposal under the same request for proposal for existing services. Now remember, there are two entities that did apply. The other one, to ensure continuity, staff recommends awarding a new agreement to the Salvation Army, a local experienced organization that specializes in providing services to the targeted population, and was the second-ranked proposer from the original homeless outreach procurement process. And let me tell you guys something. When I found out that we went with Hope the Mission over the Salvation Army, I was shocked. That is one, just the comparison between time, capacity, outcomes, success. I don't even understand, which I believe has put us over like behind, at the very least. When I went to the Salvation Army's Christmas, ringer benefit thing, they awarded a compliment to the city of Redlands, who they've been working with, where they've taken 163 people off of their streets in 1 year. 163 people off the streets, thanks to the Salvation Army partnership with the city of Redlands. So I'm very happy to see this. So this has my absolute approval. So if direction given, staff would bring back the report to reallocate the remaining ARPA funds to a contract with Salvation Army, which has demonstrated readiness to swiftly assume responsibility, collaborating with the city to seamlessly transition operations and maintain essential services. So the city continues to grapple with severe homeless crisis. The housing, 36% of San Bernardino County homeless population is in our city, and that's recognized through the point in time count. Recognizing the urgent need for targeted outreach, the city allocated $1.5 million in ARPA funds in 2023 to enhance homeless outreach. So this is where we would reallocate the existing remaining contract amount of $680,000 of ARPA funds and move them to be rolled into a homeless outreach contract with the Salvation Army. And they would start on December 18th and then work through December 31st of 2026. And then as time is moving on, if the contract needs additional ARPA funds, could be reallocated for that outreach. So that's a big one. That is really huge. I will speak to this as the councilwoman officially of the 7th Ward. Sorry, they did all of the counts today as final. It's a hot mess over here. It is what we said was going to happen when they pushed the homeless out of the park, which was they were going to inundate the alleys. the neighborhoods and every nook and cranny along with the flood channels. And so we are having an extreme issue over here. As you guys saw, the arcade was broken into on Sierra Way. We have homeless people jumping into people's yards, living up against their fence, starting fires. The kids are being exposed. I just had a resident reach out today. Their child was exposed to a man pulled his pants down. He's peeing in front of everybody. Other ones are talking about them, with their genitals just out. It is not okay, and it is a complete failure of years of not addressing homelessness. And so I am very, very steadfast in my work in collaborating with the mayor and collaborating with the council to make sure that we are truly addressing this. And this for me right here is a very positive. As soon as I left the Salvation Army's retreat, or I mean, sorry, their benefit, I was like, this is exactly what we need to be doing. So yay for that one. The next is an agreement with Horizon Construction Company International and Hardy and Harper Incorporated for asphalt maintenance and street segment repair services in all wards. This is great. So they are reallocating 5.6 million of ARPA funds from the Navigation Center project to the asphalt and maintenance street segment repair services program. And they're going to authorize the city manager to execute a separate maintenance service agreement. And the director of finance will issue a purchase order in the amount of 2.9 million-ish to Horizon Construction International and issue an additional purchase order for another 2.9 to Harper and Harper, or Hardley and Harper, my bad, for the combined total of the $5,855,215. So that I can't not be happy with that. I mean, when we prioritize the priorities of the city, this is what the residents have asked for. So I'm glad to see that. And remember, ARPA funds is one-time use. So these are not things that can go towards salaries and pension costs. They have to be earmarked for like a project, and they have to be put towards projects before the end of this year. Otherwise, we have to return them. So this is why we are seeing such large amounts of money, which truly and honestly just speaks to the lack of leadership. I've said it today multiple times to many people. I can't imagine that on December 3rd of 2024, we are just positioning these funds that other cities have already expended, that have already committed and are in the midst of either completing or full implementation of real homeless projects, paving, infrastructure needs. And San Bernardino is just consistently behind the mark. And that's because our council spends time, rallying to party with one another, then really put the citizens and the residents of the city at the forefront. So these are good things. I'm excited to see this stuff. So it's going to be a big discussion. Number 4, sorry about that, is the issuance of a purchase order with Transwest Truck Center LLC for 2 graffiti abatement trucks. And they will authorize the purchase of 2 outfitted graffiti abatement trucks from Transwest in the amount of $403,401.74. So let's look at that. And just so we can see what that's all covering, because I know things are expensive. So hi, Miss Sophia. Hi, Rob. Thank you guys for joining. Okay. So here we go. And I know graffiti removal is a big thing. For me, I have seen an improvement in cleanups. So if you have too, let me know. So the purchase order is in the amount of 403,000 and change is requested for 2 of these trucks. The operations and maintenance division is requesting the maintenance, repair, beautification, and cleanup of city-owned infrastructure, properties, and rights of way. It is also responsible for ensuring the city is kept free of graffiti and blight on city-owned buildings, infrastructure, and private property buildings within view of public streets and roads. This also includes graffiti abatement at parks, curbs, sidewalks, and traffic signal intersections, to name a few. To further support these measures, the mayor and city council allocated $1 million in ARPA funds towards the city's graffiti abatement in 2021. The city of San Bernardino prides itself in keeping the city clean and free of graffiti. I think pride is maybe too much of a word, because, you know, this wasn't a priority for many years. No shade on the department. It was just, it was cut. And I remember we used to have the weekend warriors come in and they would clean graffiti as part of their community service. So anyways, I let's not get overjoyed in this, but so it's been a priority to clean and keep the city clean of graffiti. In an effort to abate graffiti more efficiently, staff researched the availability of modernized equipment and related components designed to provide an immediate availability of various paints and multiple spray guns and on specialty outfitted trucks and beds. So that's awesome. And what I like is that it is with everything that they need. Here's what I think. When we're buying something, and this is like what, $200,000 per truck to get everything that we need. What we have seen, especially in government waste, is where they buy something, but they need this extra and they need that extra. So whenever they're like, hey, this is exactly what we're going to need to be able to address all of the problems. So we have our spray guns, we have, you know, all these different colors. We have this ability to put everything on the bed that we need, that we can be where we are in comparison to other cities. I'm here for it. And so the solicitation for this was based on the lowest bid, and only one vendor submitted a quote that met all of the city's purchasing needs, and that was Transvest Truck of the center of Fontana. So this is where we're going to purchase that, and I'm really excited about that. I think when I have needed the graffiti team, they've been out super responsive, and this is, like I said, just in the last year. So I'm really excited to see that type of investment put back so that these men and women have the tools that they need to truly, you know, make the city, you know, clean and free of graffiti and focus on the truly blighted areas. I am not impressed. I'm sorry, when I watch, you know, the city post these before and afters of people's dead green grass, and then all of a sudden it's cleaned up. And I'm like, you have burnt out buildings up and down our main corridors in the downtown with homeless people living in and out of them. I'm not impressed. So that's just my 2 cents. Okay, so this is what is going to transpire starting at 1:40. And I am pretty sure, given the totality in the 600 and some pages, that this is going to be a pretty long meeting, and it's going to roll us right into the regular scheduled meeting of December 4th, which begins at 4 p.m. And closed session is first and foremost. So let's take a look at this. So at 4 p.m., you can come and give a public comment, and you can comment on existing litigation with Maria Segura and Nicholas Segura against the city, Brian Gonzalez case. And if you guys ever really want to read these cases, just, you can take the case number and put it into the courts and gain more information. Sometimes I do that on things that are like more you know, bigger in the city. So but if you want to know more about Brian Gonzalez's case versus city, Maria Munoz, Levier Cornell, then that's all there. Or if you are, and I don't want to say a party to the case, but if you know anything, you can always come and speak. And then conference with legal counsel for anticipated litigation. One case, a notice of claim from Jorge Cardozo. Now, I thought this was interesting, and I wanted to point this out because rarely, if ever, do we see the conference for legal counsel anticipated litigation, and they'll give you one, right? They'll tell you there's one case. But I've rarely ever seen the notice of claim. And what is truly interesting is all the notices of claims are public documents. So I don't know why the city makes this such a secret. And I guess it's what, to backdate public records requests. But if you just did this every time, I think that would be awesome, because it's not a secret who puts claims in against the city. Then we have the public employee dismissal pursuant to the government code 54957 at the mayor's request, the dismissal of the city attorney and the public employee appointment at the mayor's request of a interim city attorney. So again, as we were talking about titles and postings, and remember, pursuant to the government code, you can only discuss in closed session what is itemized for closed session. You cannot just go and have discussions about dismissing an employee if you haven't publicly posted so the residents or anybody that would want to come know exactly what you're speaking to. And so if you guys remember, just short week and a half ago at the last meeting, the mayor put this on for open session, and it became this huge, I mean, just amazingly huge spectacle where first starting out in closed session, where we saw the city attorney violate the Brown Act and put herself and her organization on for their own evaluation, which is completely not okay and should not be tolerated because they don't manage the city. So we saw that. We saw Fred Charette. We saw Theodore Sanchez march out. It was just unreal. And then we came into open session. They tried to shut it down, and the mayor used her veto. Then the city attorney interjected on her own item, given that she had her own financial interest as a representative of BB&K, and tried to tell the mayor incorrectly that she could not veto this. It was just a lot. And so I guess they're going to try this again in behind closed doors. But I think in really looking at what is transpiring with our city attorney in and of itself, and remember, this isn't people, this isn't a personal thing, because anybody could be assigned to the city of San Bernardino that works within the enterprise of BB&K. But what we have consistently seen, what I have consistently seen, is a failure of their contractual obligations. And that's my biggest beef with them. I am big on their proclaimed contractual agreement to create stability, to lower liability, to provide sound legal counsel, of which when we have seen very public displays of this not happening, and then private, low-key, unprofessional relationships that everybody is becoming aware of, what are we doing? Like millions and millions of dollars. And so I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I support this item to remove them. And I appreciate, Damon Alexander, at least hearing my public comment on that. Because if you can't trust your attorney to guide you, who are you trusting? And I really always like to go back to Sonia Carvalho's comment to me when I was referencing her emails that she didn't know I had, which really bothers, I think, my ability to ever truly be able to trust them, because she decided to say that I get up and give out misinformation, malicious falsehoods towards the council and her, while I'm reading from her own emails that she didn't know I had. That is the problem. That's why when I produced the letter of intent with Stifel, she questioned the city clerk on how I got it. So, man, you guys, and we're only 15 days away from the swearing in. And I just want the city to be on a good track, and I don't think BB&K is that track for us. So we'll see where that goes. Okay, after that, then we're going to come into 5 p.m. for the regular session. Hi, Scott. Hi, Leslie. Thank you guys for jumping in. I don't have any idea who they're looking for the interim city attorney. That would be privately discussed, and I personally don't know. So thank you. That was a good question. So then we have the invocation and pledge of allegiance. If they make any decisions, they should come out and report them to the public. Then there's the city manager update. And then for the public, for us, we can come and give comments for any items listed and not listed on the agenda. There's going to be a presentation on the Broadband Strategic Master Plan. Sounds super fun. And then the consent calendar. So remember, items on the consent calendar are just that, consenting to them. There's no discussion, but we're going to go through them because I am a firm believer in the limit, a financial limit that should be allowed to just be rubber stamped. So let's go through. They're going to accept to grant funds from Best Friends Animal Society in the amount of $2,000. No. Yeah. No. It doesn't say. It says 2,000, but let's look. How much? Real quick. And this is why we read. Oh, it is $2,000. Okay. So on September 13th, 2024, Best Friends of Animal Services issued unrestricted grant funds in the amount of $2,000. The department intends to utilize the funding to support enrichment programs, playgrounds, volunteers, and foster programs. These donated funds will help cover the cost of supplies for crucial animal shelter programs and services. Well, that's really nice. So, okay, then $2,000 it is. Okay. Next, that's fine. That's accepting money. That's a good one. Number 2, regional partnership amendment. Number 1, to modular office building purchases for animal services. So they are authorizing the city manager to execute an amendment number 1 to the goods purchase agreement with William Scotsman in the amount of $13,000 to accommodate a price adjustment to include prevailing wages on purchase of a modular building for animal services, and authorize the Director of Finance and Management to amend the purchase order in the amount not to exceed $440,000. So anytime that there are offsets, they do have to come back and they have to publicly disclose that. So that's why we're seeing that here. So that's good. That works. Acceptance of the Encampment Resolution Fund grant from the California Department of Housing and Community Development in the amount of $4,569,511 for a 5.2-mile prioritized encampment area along Waterman Avenue. Now, absolutely not a consent calendar item. And then you're saying, but Treasurer, they are accepting funds. Yeah, but they're accepting $4.5 million of funds as opposed to $2,000. And I'm not saying that this is anything nefarious, but what I'm saying is that this type of amount, and this is historic, this is what we tend to do. Even if we don't have a lot of questions, it should still be up for a discussion. Like the one I want to know, right? Let's look at it. I want to know the details. This is a big amount. We just watched the council try to make some BS excuse for $17 million of illegal funding process. So here's something that's really positive that the city manager is bringing forward for the acceptance of $4.5 million. So they're going to adopt the resolution approving the acceptance of the Encampment Resolution Fund. Because remember, the city manager has the sole authority to approve the moving forward with an application. It is the council's sole discretion to then accept or deny the award funds. Two separate different components, two completely individual authorities. The council does not have the authority to tell the city manager, you're going to apply for this, and we don't care if the RFP is improper or illegal. And the city manager then cannot have an award brought forward, an actual award amount, and say, no, we're not going to take that award. They have to give it to the council for recommendation to accept. So here we are. This is how it's working. So they're going to ratify the execution of the Encampment Resolution Fund, Round 3 standard agreement between the city and HCD, and authorize the Director of Finance and Management to amend the adopted budget to appropriate the $5.4 million, and then approve the additional ERF 3R grant funded positions. So what they're going to do is they're going to add 1 homeless outreach coordinator, 3 homeless outreach specialists, and 1 part-time homeless outreach specialist. And they're going to authorize the city manager or designee to enter into a direct agreements with VARP, whatever that is, for interim housing services, okay, for $771,600, and prevention diversion services for $100,000, with Community Action Partnership for mobile shower and laundry services, $450,000. So this is really cool. I think it's exactly what we need. Now, again, I'm going to go back to what I saw at the City of Redlands with their outreach team, with their housing specialists who are like legit top notch. This is what we need to be focusing on. So the city of San Bernardino has been awarded $4.5 million ish plus change grant from the California Department of Housing and Community Development, HCD, under the Encampment Resolution Fund Round 3 program. This funding will support the city's efforts to address the needs of approximately 110 individuals residing in a 5.2-mile prioritized encampment area along Waterman Avenue, including placing 60 individuals into permanent housing and 50 into interim housing with supported services. This project will deliver comprehensive services to promote wellness, stability, and long-term housing success for the unhoused population. There is no impact on the general fund, no, because we're getting this money. Now, how do I feel about 110 people being able to be helped with $4.5 million? I hope we can do more, is what I'm going to say. I'm definitely going to be watching where these funds go. I'm going to be looking at the allocation, because if I had $4.5 million, I just feel like we could help so much, like many people. But I understand if this is going to include building costs, because the price of everything is super big. So, okay, this is good. And I approve. I would have liked to see it in the discussion just in case there were any type of extra stuff, but it's a good thing. Then we have a professional service agreement with Tetra Growth Systems, DBA Canna Business Service for cannabis monitoring and financial audit services. And this is for the amount not to exceed $362,316, and execute all documents for the effective agreement from January 2025 and ending December 31st, 2027. And the city or designee to execute 2 optional 1-year extensions with an amount not to exceed $120,000. So I don't even have to hope anymore, you guys, because I'm going to be up there. I want to make sure that what they are doing is monitored and checked, that we make sure that these financial audits, and let's look at this again. To me, I would want this as part of a discussion. Cannabis has been such a big issue, especially the lack of collection of taxes. So let's see, the city's current cannabis monitoring and financial audit agreement expires on January 30th, 2025. To ensure continued service, the city published a request for proposal and selected Tetra Growth Services, DBA Canna Business Service, to replace SCI Consulting, which has been providing those services since 2019. The proposed agreement is for 3 years. In March of 2018, the city enacted Chapter 5.10, establishing commercial cannabis regulations through the Ordinance MC 1546. The ordinance was later amended in October of 2018 with the adoption of Ordinance MC 1503. The City Council then passed Resolution 18227 to place the ordinance on the ballot for the voter approval. So remember all that. Remember that big old thing about, all these people being inside cannabis, and it was a lot. So the agreement with Tetra Growth Systems for cannabis monitoring and financial audits is for a term of 3 years and for $362,316 or $120,000 annually. And here's what the agreement is. They will provide the city with compliance inspections. This task would include on-site inspections of each commercial cannabis facility to ensure compliance with all state and local laws and regulations, including physical security measures, standard operating procedures, inventory track and trace controls, limited access areas, surveillance systems, locks and alarms, record retention, and other requirements. Financial audits. Financial audits will be done annually to ensure compliance with business tax reporting and remittance requirements, sales and inventory tracking, and all other requirements pursuant to 5.18 of the City of San Bernardino Municipal Code. Background checks as required in Chapter 5.10. Background checks are necessary for all owners, managers, and principals associated with cannabis business application, as well as all employees or line staff as needed. Plan check. This would include plan check services for proposed tenant improvements to ensure compliance with all state and local requirements. The RFP issued for the city in August of 2024 sought the services of a qualified consultant to assist the city in cannabis monitoring and financial services. So they had Tetra Growth, SCI Consulting applied again, Global Go, and Avenue. So Tetra came out. Now here's something, what I'm trying to figure out. So SCI Consulting, I've never seen any of that from ever produced publicly. Maybe I've missed it. So I think we need to definitely pull the records on what they were able to provide the city in their last 3 years. I think this is something we need to stay up on because we're consistently told that, at least during the last, when Charles Montoya was here, previous to that was Rob Field, and saying, well, we just have a hard time collecting. It's the state issues. Well, if we're supposed to be doing all of these compliance inspections, financial audits, and background checks, what is the problem? Where is our money? Because it is insufficient with the amount of weed that this city has going around, that we are only getting $3 million. That's crazy. This was supposed to be a huge revenue driver for the city, and I feel like other people have made money and we have not. So we'll definitely definitely recommend that we be given at least quarterly, or I don't, I'll just find out when these audits are done, but we should get the reports and they should be, make sure that we make them public. So, okay, here we go. Good stuff, you guys. Yeah, it felt like someone was getting their cut, Les. Like, I'm like, that's everybody else seems to make the money, and we need to make sure we can pave the streets. Okay, so that was for, sorry about that. Okay, that was for the cannabis. Then a professional service agreement with Gallagher Benefit Service for class and comp study. So let's see what that's going to cost us. So a comp and class study is where they evaluate all of the jobs and their salaries. So, I mean, it's not something that's unusual. Let's just see what we're paying for it. And it's a part of, the bargaining unit. So we had a lot of people apply. And the proposed project is going to cost $513,209 and will span between 10 months to a year, with a planned kickoff of January 25th. A 5% contingency is included to ensure that the project remains within budget while accommodating any unexpected requirements. So that's pretty standard. And I should have got into comp and class studies. So the city agreed in 2020, in the 2020-2025 MOUs to conduct a class and compensation study during the fiscal year 24-25. The purpose of the study would be to review current employee classifications and propose revisions that provide fair and rational internal and external relationships. Now, I'm a big supporter of this because, one, especially coming out of COVID, I have a firm belief that there is a expansion within duties and responsibilities, given taking jobs and making them remote. So the technological components, I think, may have redefined some roles in another way. So I'm here for it. I'm glad the city is doing that. Okay. So then we're still on the consent calendar, acceptance and approval of modernization of older Californians Access/Nutrition Services Grant Award, authorizing the city manager designee to accept a grant award in funds in the amount of $99,900 from the San Bernardino County Department of Adult and Aging Services, Public Guardian Modernization of Older Californians, and to conduct all negotiations and signing. So let's see what that's going for. So here we go. Okay, sorry, I went too fast. Okay, okay. So what this money is going to be used for is to serve at least 2,500 intergenerational clients, 120 unduplicated clients, in 24 activities within the annual grant term. Proposed intergenerational activities include Grandparents' Day celebration, Master Chef cooking classes, paint project and pastries, arts and crafts, and smart place socials, technology learning through interaction and play. And these will take place at the 5th Street and Paris Hill Senior Centers and other community centers. Proposed infrastructure improvements include the purchase of commercial range stove for the Hernandez Community Center, an energy efficient commercial refrigerator for the Paris Hill Senior Center, a high pressure spray cleaner for the 5th Street Senior Center, and other related programs. Okay, that's pretty cool. I think that's great. I approve. But again, this is like cool stuff that I think, I just hope they share what this is for, because that's great. Our seniors are so important and awesome. And then we got a tobacco grant, which I'm going to assume is not to grow tobacco, but to say no to tobacco. So we'll go with that. And we're going to take on $300,015 in grant funds. So that's pretty cool. And then execute a third agreement to the San Manuel Community Credit Fund restricted grant agreement for police services. So San Manuel contributes to the city for additional patrol and services in the amount of $2,086,620, which will authorize the police department to increase staffing by 1 police sergeant position and 2 police officer positions. So that's awesome. And then award of agreement for construction of Second Lake Park revitalization improvements project with landscape support services and approval of task order 001 for construction management and inspection of CSG consultants. So, okay, to me, again, this is not a consent. This should be a discussion, a quick discussion, but a discussion, because we're approving in the amount of $10,539,509.65 for the construction of the Second Lake Park revitalization project. It's a big deal. $700,000 for construction management and inspection services, $1,092,000 for professional services and contingencies. So again, that's a lot of money that I think we need to make sure that we cover. And then these are actual discussions. So the acceptance of donations for the SB Hope campus. So Loma Linda University is giving us $70,000 from in the amount of $70,000. The Inland Empire Health Plan, IEHP, is giving us an amount of $1.5 million. And from the Molina Healthcare in the amount of $300,000 in support of the construction and operation of the SB Hope campus. That is very awesome. And so good stuff. And again, it's a discussion item so they can talk about it. And then the Navigation Center Award Design Service and Purchase Agreement with Mandeville Modular and the Purchase and Modular Award. So remember, this is what's going to be talked about in the 140 meeting. So I think this is where they're going to be able to come in and make their final vote. And then they will adjourn to the regular meeting of December 18th. So that is what we have going on for the next meeting, which I know is a lot, but there's just a lot happening in the city, and I want to make sure that everybody is as much a part of the conversation as we can be, because there's a lot of moving parts. And the problem with these moving parts is that how do we even put this? A problem with some of these moving parts is that they're not good for us. And we have these just some people who just won't think for themselves. And it becomes frustrating when it holds us back. And there are so many great opportunities out here for us. Everybody's always looking to the city of San Bernardino to become something, to do something, to move something forward. And that is exactly what I hope we will be doing. So thank you guys so much. Yes, Rob, you guys are important. And, Tim, I know a lot of people wish that the county would take us over. But here's the thing, there's a lot in our autonomy that if we just elect, which you guys just did, thank you, the right people who have the right intentions in place, we can do everything. There is nothing that the city of San Bernardino cannot accomplish. You just, as Councilwoman Kimberly Calvin continues to say, you have to have the political will to do it. And if someone is in a position where their source and goal is to represent the people, then everything they should be doing should be in the best interest. And we just don't have that here. We have, as Leslie and many of us have looked at this left side. I can't even imagine that we have this complete division in our city that is visually identifiable of people who do what they're told. Whatever Theodore Sanchez says, Sandra Ibarra runs to go do it. We watch Juan Figueroa, we watch Fred Charette. It's just this group of people that now want to cry foul because there's a recall effort against them by the people of this city, that the people that they have always relied on who have supported them are like, no, like you're completely self-interested and we need to start doing what's right here. So you guys just stay tuned. Recalls cost a lot of money, but a lot of public effort goes a long way. And then also get ready for the upcoming election. These guys are up for re-election and in 2026. So, and be vigilant when we're putting out information, when you guys are hearing. I know Les shows up, I know Tim gets involved, and Rob and Lorraine, all of you, like, keep coming forward because they're hearing us. Trust and believe. Nobody acts out the way that this council did in the last meeting if they weren't hearing the community. And so when the ship is sinking, the rats are jumping overboard. And that is what we're watching in real time. And I always say this to my students, academically, this stuff is fascinating. Living in it is a whole nother set of reality that just is a challenge. But you know what? Many of us are up for this challenge. We are working together in ways that some people never thought were possible, but what it means is that there is truly hope. So thank you guys so much for this. Please share this. please let everybody know that there is now a special meeting tomorrow at 1:40. You have to have your public comments written and submitted by 11 o'clock. Or you can show up in person and speak on any issues. So thank you guys and have a very good night.